Hello there everyone, Happy New Year. It is our first Knott's video of 2024. And of course we're starting out Camp Snoopy, which is getting fully reimagined. You're gonna see lots of construction walls up here until Memorial Day weekend when the new land opens up, or the new reimagined land, I should say, opens up. We're gonna follow along with it. We're gonna give you a little bit of a kind of synopsis today, show you what it looks like here on the first day that construction is really in full go after the holidays have ended just yesterday. But also we'll kind of talk a little bit about what's coming in, and then we'll keep an eye out throughout the process to kind of show you some of the updates as we go. So starting here, I mean, first it's important to know that with Camp Snoopy, the new version is meant to give more of all ages fun. It really is the idea of taking a land that was mostly made for the kids and making it something that the parents or adults that are with the kids can also celebrate. And there are going to be some changes, some that might be a little sensitive, some are a little bit emotional over some. We're going to lose that guy right there from the front, but we're going to get him towards the back, and we'll talk about that. So I think we've seen a track record of Knott's really doing a great job of celebrating its past in the last few years. We saw all sorts of great additions to Fiesta, and I think we're going to see more of that here. So let's make our way in and talk a little bit about earning merit badges and just some of the construction. All right, so as immediately we enter the land, we see Camp Snoopy store is closed. We're getting a newly, again, reimagined is the word we use a lot here, version of it. They say it'll be more immersive, so we'll see what comes of that. And then wanted to note, we know that Woodstock's airmail is kind of like Huff and Puff, which went away this weekend, is one that is beloved. That is getting moved. It's not gonna leave the land, so we'll get that one back, but in a new location. And as we enter here on the side, Sierra Sidewinder here, we are going to be getting Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister Coaster, which is also meant, again, to be a family coaster. It's meant to be kids' first exposure to a coaster. It has a mini, as they describe it, pint-sized launch to it, and it runs twice, so gives a little bit more duration on it. But the idea that kids will be able to ride with adults on that coaster and have a little bit of fun with that. Now, also in this area, we've seen the theater torn out, and that is because here's where airmail was, but down off to the left here as we continue the walk, the theater has gone away. That is because there'll be a new theater coming. And what I'm most excited about with the new theater is, one, it looks great in like the graphics that they've shown, but even more so than that is the fact that when we get our new theater in this park, it is going to be open at night. Here's one of the images they have up throughout the construction signs there to give a little bit of a look at what we have coming there with Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister Coaster. And actually just looking at it, I mean, you get the vibe of what it is in terms of the size of the track and the theming and things like that. It's not going to be anything to contend with Hang Time or Sidewinder or anything like that, but it is going to be a fun one for families to embrace. So currently on day one of the kind of changeover here out of Mary Farm, Flying Ace is one of the few things, it's really the only thing in this first half of Camp Snoopy that's open outside of Sierra Sidewinder, which is obviously not one for the little ones. Grand Sierra Railroad is down. This is getting its own retheme. We'll have a new experience here, Beagle Express. Not sure if they'll be using the same load station or if that will mimic at all, but Beagle Express is a locomotive ride through a series of camp vignettes that seems very familiar, and be looking for the quote-unquote best cabin. Now, all of this is framed around kind of the merit badge idea, and so I think there's going to be some fun things coming for earning those badges. We saw with Huff and Puff going away, it was the first opportunity to earn a badge, as they described it, but the idea is that with that, you'll be able to kind of become part of the experience with kids. So the kids can earn badges, the adults can. So it sounds a lot more interactive. I'm guessing nothing to this extreme of Ghost Town Alive, but I do think it's leaning on some of those philosophies in terms of there's going to be little missions and accomplishments and things like that, and I think that is what's going to make it quite beloved. Now, Grizzly Creek Lodge is down, and again, advertising some of the new things to come here. Place again, we talked about the theater and get a little bit of an idea of the visual of that coming. The camp swing we've not talked about yet, but that is going to rise up to 10 feet, and it will be friendly again to adults. And again, idea at the more open kind of space there at the front of the park, removing that fountain. So in the press release Knott's release, they talked about Grizzly Creek Lodge, and they used the term Grizzly Lodge. Actually, I have it here. Grizzly Lodge Dining Hall. So a little bit of a different name there, I would imagine. Some sprucing up there on the inside. They did mention specifically the bridge being a part of this, the waterfall, And then up above over here is where Snoopy's gonna make his way back, so we won't lose that iconic image from the front of the park there, which is really cool. Now, another thing that they mentioned about this area generally, though, is having some upper tier kind of hangout areas for the adults. And so it feels like it's going to be, again, kind of having a little bit more of a lounge feel to it. And just everything they've been pushing forward is much more about adults being able to enjoy the land, which I know myself and Carmel, not having kids, but loving to come to Knott's. Camp Snoopy's an area that we mostly skip over. I mean, we'll ride Grand Sierra every once in a while or things like that, but a lot of our time is spent kind of making our way over here for just Scary Farm, and that's about it, or cutting through to Fiesta or things like that. So I am excited to see some of the things that are a little bit more adult friendly, although at the end of the day, it's really clear this is going to be a kids first land still. It's just going to be something that maybe the adults, rather than sitting on the sidelines, are going to be able to participate a little bit more. And I think what they're doing with Rocky Mountain might be one of the best examples of that. All right, before we make our way to Rocky Mountain, the Linus launchers are still open. Huff and Puff, obviously, we talked about that, has gone away. One of the more iconic rides in the area that, it always had kids having a great time with it. It's something that a lot of people pass down from their family took their kids, then their kids took their kids, and so on. But it is gone. It's all getting cleared out of here, and we'll talk more about some of that. I did want to note on the theater again, as we get the theater, what's going to be so great about that is having the ability to have some of that more nighttime focus, because Camp Snoopy, again, as it's been so kid-centric, it really hasn't had a lot at night outside of great light offerings. And I mean, of course, the rides have been open, but it just really hasn't been a place, I don't think, that families outside of taking the little ones to ride have really had a reason. But they make specific to note that there will be activities at night. There will be fire pits, specifically in the theater. And I think some of those things will be really great additions. And I just really hope, and I don't think we don't lose this view, because this is such an incredible view. Now, with the ride closures and things like that, as we show a few more things that are open right now, I mean, they're still doing the portraits, got the kite eating tree. Remember, if you're making a plan, I know I've seen a lot of people asking, like, well, is this going to be open in March? Is this going to be open in April, May? Everything's going to be subject to change, and I'm sure you're going to notice, like with Fiesta, a lot of particular closures as you come to the weekdays, because it's just an easier time to throw walls up everywhere, and ultimately losing access through Fiesta, I'm sure, might be part of that. I mean, we'll see. If we were here the last time Camp Snoopy had a renovation, there were a lot of walls for a long time, and we also just experienced it last summer with the Fiesta redo. Here, High Sierra Ferris wheel has gone away. I know I've enjoyed kind of seeing that as we drive in at night, sometimes all lit up, but that is gone. And then let's make our way to Rocky Mountain. All right, as we make our way to the border Fiesta here, I think Rocky Mountain Trucking Company might be one of the best examples of what they have planned in terms of the changes coming. Is they are taking out the former version of this ride, and they're bringing in one that fits adults, and that will be all about adult participation as well. They also note that, like, kind of this racing element, or this challenge element, but that it's not about racing, it's not about speed, but it's about how many things you notice, that there will be all of these different markings on the course as you go under and over. The ride vehicles will be themed Peanuts, Snoopy, all of that, but there'll be things to kind of challenge yourself and challenge your kids as you make your way through there. So very different than, again, kind of what it was, where people just put the kids on, stood off the side, took pictures. Now it's really about participating and being part of the adventure versus just kind of watching the kids have their adventure. Although I'm sure in most cases that's going to be fine with these as well, is just to let the kids do them. But I think it's kind of a nice option, I would imagine, for a lot of parents to be able to participate a little bit more rather than just waiting in line and being on the sidelines. All right, we're going to wrap up this first Knott's video of 2024 up right here. Again, we'll be back watching Camp Snoopy. We'll also be posting on social media when there's not big changes. You can follow along with us, X, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you follow along on social media. We're mostly there. Also, suggest giving a follow to our Knott's Adventure on Instagram. They are here all the time. They definitely live a lot closer than us, and we love seeing their coverage as well. So if you are just on Instagram, or you're just interested in Knott's, maybe not on Instagram, they may be a reason to get over there, and hopefully you'll follow us as well. So wrapping up here at Knott's Berry Farm. Until next time, we'll see you online somewhere.